We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You are listening to The Underground Marketing Conspiracy, a secret ritual where entrepreneurs acquire highly classified and confidential business knowledge that the top 1% of income earners don't want you to know. And now, your host, Maddie Milligan.
What is going on, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? Welcome to the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo! Happy New Year. Happy 2020. Hope you had a wonderful and happy holidays. Merry Christmas as well. Today I want to talk to you about setting goals as we turn a leaf on a new decade and just a new year in general. One of my favorite quotes is from Tony Robbins, where he says that people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I heard that about 10 years ago, and I honestly didn't accomplish all the goals I wanted in the last decade. So I want a fresh start at this point, and I've really been thinking about what I want to achieve in the next 10 years and what I want my life to look like eventually, right? Where I want to be in the world, who am I serving, who are the people in my life that I have a close connection with, ultimately, those kind of things. I'm not a very, I guess, greedy person, so I don't really care about owning an insane car or a mansion or a yacht or any of that stuff, or owning jewelry. I don't wear anything as it is, and I'm not really into material possessions. So for me, I wrote down some of my goals, and the way that I usually do this is, there's a great book I recommend, Grant Cardone, The 10X Rule, and then also his other book, Be Obsessed or Be Average, where the reason it's called the 10X Rule is because you want to set yourself these insanely audacious, unreasonable goals for yourself. And the reason why you want to do that is by setting pitiful goals, it's hard for you to wake up and get excited and work towards them every single day. But when you have these unreasonable expectations of what you want your life to look like, and you're consistent, you'll start to actually put in the massive amounts of action that it takes to achieve those goals. And honestly, when you say your goals, they should scare you. Like, you should have a feeling where you feel a little bit anxious and afraid of if you can actually achieve those goals. But having those unreasonable goals, like, you need to get excited about something. So why not have goals where even if you were to not achieve that goal fully, maybe you were to get only 80 or 90% of the way there, wouldn't that be better than just setting some goal that's kind of reasonable? It's like, if you shoot for the stars, you'll end up on the moon. And would it be that bad? It's like, you could still be on Earth, but again, it's like, oh, I'm gonna set these very high goals, and basically I know I'm gonna need to take a lot of action. But again, I would really recommend reading the 10X Rule. It's one of my favorite books. I read it once per year. I found out about it in 2015, and it kind of opened my eyes and changed a lot of the things that I used to do. And to be honest, my main goal in the last decade was just changing my attitude. I remember in early 2010, I was just such a negative person. Like, if honestly, if people had met me like 10, 15, 20 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was very negative, very selfish, very angry at the world for all sorts of different things. Just really speaking to people in a very rude, obnoxious way, having unreasonable expectations of other people, and not living up to those myself. So when I found out about this book, I was like, the first time I read it, I'm like, okay, this is like a solid book. Like, I can see why this guy's been so successful. And even then, Grant Cardone talks a lot about in these books where he basically grew up, he did a lot of like drugs and alcohol, and he lost his father. And basically he started a business. He'd become the number one salesperson in his company, and then he started his business, and he didn't do anything for an entire year. He just sat on it and rested on his laurels. And then at some point his brother's like, dude, like, stop calling me during the day. Like, you can't be doing this. Like, why are you not going out there and working on your business? And I believe at the time he was just selling sales courses to businesses and really just training to help them improve on their sales skills. But he himself was just struggling and stuck inside of his head when he was in his 30s. So he's like, all right, like, I need to just be completely unreasonable with what I'm doing. So one thing he suggests too is when you're setting your goals, like every single day you have to sit down when you wake up and when you go to sleep, write down your goals so you have them in front of you, and write them as if you already have them. So if you're someone where it's like, cool, like, I want to own a Lamborghini, when you write it down, be like, I own a Lamborghini, and be specific. Like, say the color it is, say the model it is, say the year, talk about the interior, really visualize that in your mind. That's what's going to help you get excited and motivated to take the amount of action it's going to take to actually get that Lamborghini. Another tip that I would also recommend is when you're planning your time, use the Stephen Covey method, because you can be like, okay, this year I have these goals. This is what I'm going to achieve. I like to do things not in like what I'm going to do this year. It's like I like to do things on a daily and a weekly basis. This is something I know I personally need to improve a lot on. It's just my time management, and one of my goals is going to be waking up at 5 a.m. every day. It's something I've tried for a long time. I've done it from time to time. I've struggled. But one tip someone suggested to me was have a reward in the morning. So for me, it's going to be coffee and cream. I was going to set a resolution where I'm like, I'm never going to drink coffee again. But to be honest, like, I love coffee. When I wake up, coffee with cream to me is like the best thing, just to wake up, have that cup of coffee, and it's like, okay, now I can have my day. So I just want to start waking up really early in the morning, having a little bit of me time, and popping on an audiobook, heading out to the gym. That way I can really just start getting my blood pumping, start building more muscle. I did, honestly, though, the last couple of months, I did work out pretty hard, and I went for a lot of hikes in the city as well, in the Don Valley, which is awesome, and just connected to nature again. And what I also did is I would go to the gym, usually 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes 5, and just lift weights throughout and basically do that, because I want to put on a little bit of muscle and then drop it. I do at some point want to get some land, and I've considered building a log cabin. I don't know if I'm actually going to do it. I might just buy some land with a house on it. That way I have electricity, and at least I have the bare necessities, and then just get a truck. But that's a whole other story. But this is ultimately, it gave me something I could think of. And even thinking about that, I'm like, like, sure, I could have all this stuff, but it's like, maybe I could 10x that, right? Maybe I could have like the best log cabin. Maybe I could hire some locals to just build that for me. Or maybe I could just recruit some of my friends. We could build it all together, and essentially that would bring us closer together. But I don't really know what that looks like yet. But again, I'm thinking about it. I'm writing it down, and it's something where, again, every day I'm going to start writing down, like, I own a log cabin, in the woods. And it's like, that for me is just absolute freedom as a man. Like, going out into the woods, having the option just be alone and have people over if you want to. And I just, the last few years, to be honest, I'm kind of tired of the city. I'm moving more towards just spending more time in nature and being outdoors. But let me share with you a couple of my goals that I have for 2020. So I talked about the 5 a.m. wake-ups. That's something I think where doing that one thing is just going to allow me to put me in momentum, and then deal with all of the regular stuff throughout the day, and then just make sure that I go to bed at a reasonable hour, usually like 9-10 p.m. as long as I go to bed then. And because you wake up so early, you just automatically feel tired, because I've been in that habit before, waking up early. So that's what I want to do. I also want to start building an e-commerce brand. I've invested in some tools that are really going to help me, and I found an awesome mentor who has the experience, has all the sales, who works with you and coaches you and shows you what's working, shows you what's not. So something that I've definitely want to do as well. But in the meantime, I'm still going to do my service-based business, right? All of my copywriting, which is I feel it's one of the best business models because it's very little overhead, first of all. And then secondly is that you have freedom. And then thirdly, every business in the entire world needs a good writer. So if you have the skill of writing and you learn copy, it's an invaluable skill. But another one was spend more time in nature, and then consume less, give back more, create more valuable content and share my gifts, work out 4 to 5 times a week, less drama, more comedy, more laughter, and more smiling. Replace bad habits with positive ones. That one's kind of very generic. And then I do want to start a Facebook group, a free one, where I just give value a few times a week for people, where I do Q&As, I can do funnel audits. I was thinking originally about charging for it, and I'm like, is the market too saturated? All these marketers have their own groups, and people go there for whatever reason, and they share value in there, but I've really been thinking, like, is it too saturated? But I still think the biggest congregations of human beings on planet Earth are in groups. I'm in this one even for nature and log cabins, and the engagement is absolutely insane in that group. So it's been something where I've considering, like, okay, I have so many people that I've helped for the last few years, like, why don't I just let them know that I've started this free Facebook group about sales and marketing, and I can bring them a lot of value in there. I've thought of the name, The Psychology of Sales and Marketing. I'm not sure how that'll fly. Maybe I'll change it to something else, but I can always start with just Maddie's group and eventually change it to something else. But that's one of my goals too, is just, again, that just gives me a place to touch base with people, know what's happening, and do that as well. And again, I'm still going to be doing the copywriting and the funnel building. And then one of my other goals was spend more quality time with my mom, my brother, and close friends. That's something where I only have really a handful of close friends that I know that I meet up with in person. And that's really what I want to do. And then this is a goal that actually, like, scares me a little bit to say, because it's been something I've ignored for a very long time, and I feel that it's something that's just missing in my life. So I want to reconnect with God after 20 years. So it's been something where little things throughout my life, I've rejected Christianity for most of my life, but I think I'm just at a point in my life where I would like to get back into doing that, and just, I don't know if that's going to church or if it's praying, but for most of my life, I didn't think there was a higher power, and I'm very scientific. It's weird thinking there's this invisible man in the sky, and he has these 10 rules, and if you don't do them, he punishes you. But I don't know, there's been things in my life where I'm like, wow, like, that was a miracle. And when you see a few of those happen, I guess it just gives you some faith. I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but yeah, that's one of my goals. Again, I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's been something that I've ignored for the last 20 years, and I do want to start doing that again, and hopefully it'll allow me to just be a better person, serve more people, and ultimately achieve all the goals that I just mentioned before. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. If you did, I want you to consider subscribing, maybe even consider going back and listening to some additional episodes as well. You'll find them very helpful. Have a very happy 2020. I wish you all the best, and I hope you achieve all of your goals today, this week, this month, this year, for the rest of your life. My name is Matty Milligan. I'll see you next time on The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!